I'm Tanya. It's been a while since that terrifying night, but the memory still haunts me like a shadow. I remember standing across the street, watching as the police led a man in handcuffs out of my house. The porch lights illuminated his face, and even from afar, I recognized him immediately. It was Darren, a man from my past I thought I'd left behind for good. I was working at a law firm, handling a high-profile case that had been keeping me on my toes. The long hours and intense pressure had taken a toll on me. That day, after a grueling shift, all I wanted was to pick up my 9-year-old son, Ethan, from my sister Lily's house and go home to rest. The night air was warm and still as I pulled into the small, familiar gas station. The bright lights and the gentle hum of the pumps made me feel at ease. As I filled up my tank, I thought about Ethan. He was such a lively and creative boy, always leaving little notes and drawings for me. Lily had called earlier, telling me how excited he was to show me his new art project. I smiled, looking forward to seeing his beaming face. I also thought about my grandmother, Rose. She was a wise and intuitive woman. During my lunch break, she'd called to tell me to be careful. "Something doesn't feel right, Tanya," she'd said. I laughed it off at the time, but there was something in her voice that made me a bit uneasy. The gas station seemed normal. A black SUV was parked near the air pump, and a man in a baseball cap walked by a couple of times without making eye contact. I told myself it was nothing, just a coincidence. I was tired, and tired people tend to overthink. Once I finished filling up, I put the pump back and got into my car. I checked my phone and saw a message from Lily. "Ethan's waiting for you with a big surprise." It read. I smiled again, feeling a sense of warmth. But then, a stranger approached me. He came from my right side, moving slowly. His eyes had a look of urgency that I couldn't ignore. At first, I thought he needed help with his car or directions. But when he spoke, his words sent a shockwave through me. "Don't go home tonight." "Trust me," he said quickly. I laughed, thinking he was joking or maybe just crazy. But then he leaned in closer and whispered, "Check your security camera first." A jolt of fear ran through my chest, but I tried to play it off. I walked to my car, brushing it off as a strange encounter. Little did I know, this stranger held the key to my safety. As I drove away from the gas station, my heart started pounding. I tried to convince myself that the stranger was just a prankster. But his words kept echoing in my head. The roads were quiet, and every sound in the car seemed amplified. My phone rang. It was Lily. She asked if I was on my way to pick up Ethan. My voice sounded weak as I said yes. She immediately picked up on my unease and asked what was wrong. I told her about the stranger, trying to make it sound silly, but I could hear the fear in my own voice. Lily didn't laugh. She said, "Tanya, come straight here. You can stay the night if you're feeling weird about going home." Her words made the stranger's warning seem real. I decided to listen to her and drove to her place. The whole drive, the stranger's words repeated in my mind. "Don't go home tonight. Check your security camera first." My hands were sweating on the steering wheel, and I had to wipe them on my jeans at a red light. When I pulled into Lily's driveway, the porch light was on, and she was standing at the door. I felt a little safer just seeing her. As I stepped inside, she locked the door behind me. Ethan ran towards me with a big smile and hugged me tightly. I held him closer than usual, my mind filled with thoughts of someone lurking in my house. Lily watched me and asked, "Do you want to check your camera?" I nodded. I needed to prove to myself that the stranger was wrong. I opened the security app on my phone. Each second as it loaded felt like an eternity. The first camera showed the porch, empty and calm. The second showed the kitchen, dark and still. I started to think I'd been overreacting. But then, I clicked on the living room camera. There, in the darkest corner, was a man. He was standing still, like he was waiting for something. My hand flew to my mouth, and my stomach dropped. I zoomed in. Even though the image was grainy, I could tell someone had broken into my home. I whispered Lily's name, my voice cracking. She came behind me, saw the screen, and gasped. Ethan asked what was wrong, and Lily gently led him into the kitchen. I was frozen, staring at the screen. I was terrified that the man would move. My whole body went cold, and I called 911 with shaking hands. The dispatcher asked me where I was, if anyone was in danger, and how long the intruder had been inside. I could barely speak, but I gave them all the information I could. The dispatcher told me the officers were on their way and to stay inside. Lily came back and sat beside me. She asked if I recognized the man. I shook my head. It made things worse because it meant he was there for me. I kept thinking about the stranger's warning. How did he know? The fear grew deeper, not just because of the intruder in my house but because someone else had known before me. As the police sirens sounded in the distance, my mind snapped into action. I knew I had to stay calm for Ethan's sake. Lily came back with Ethan, who was holding one of his drawings. He stopped when he saw my face. I forced a smile and told him everything was okay. Lily put her hand on my shoulder and said, "The officers are almost here. They want us to stay together." I nodded and stood up, my legs shaking with a mix of fear and anger. Someone had invaded my safe space. I stepped outside on the porch and called my grandmother, Rose. When she answered, she could hear the panic in my voice. I told her everything, from the stranger's warning to the man in my living room. Rose's voice was steady, but I could sense the worry behind it. "Tanya, you did the right thing going to Lily's. Don't go anywhere without the police. If he's waiting for you, he has a plan," she said. Her words sent a chill down my spine, but they also gave me strength. My phone buzzed. It was the dispatcher. She said the officers were outside my house and asked if I could come to the scene to help them enter more quickly. I hesitated at first, but then I thought of the man in my living room and knew I had to face it. I told Lily I needed to go. She insisted on coming with me and grabbed her keys. Ethan clung to my leg and said, "Mom, please don't leave." My heart broke, but I knelt down and hugged him. "I'll be right back." "You stay here with Aunt Lily," I said. He nodded reluctantly. As we drove towards my neighborhood, the police followed behind. The closer we got, the tighter my chest felt. The houses I'd driven by 1,000 times seemed unfamiliar in the dark. When we turned the corner, I saw 3 police cars parked across from my driveway. Their headlights lit up my front yard. The officers waved us forward. Lily parked on the other side of the street, and an officer approached the window. I rolled it down, my stomach in knots. He asked me to confirm it was my house and said they were about to enter. I watched as the officers went inside, flashlights in hand. Another officer went to the back of the house. I held my breath, waiting for something to happen. A moment later, I heard them shout commands and push into the house. The sound made me jump. After what felt like an eternity, an officer appeared in the doorway, holding a man in handcuffs. It was Darren. Memories of our past relationship came flooding back. He'd been controlling and abusive, and I'd managed to escape from him months ago. He looked thin and haggard, his eyes wild. The officer explained that Darren had entered through the back door, forced the lock open, and unplugged my alarm system. He'd been inside for a while, waiting for me. The stranger at the gas station had recognized Darren from a missing person flyer at his job. He'd seen Darren near my backyard fence earlier that evening and knew something was wrong. I whispered, "He saved me." The officer nodded. "Yes, he likely saved your life." As Darren was put into the patrol car, he turned and stared at me. His look was full of hatred. The officers quickly shut the door, but his image was burned in my mind. That night, I realized how close I'd come to a nightmare. If I hadn't listened to the stranger and Lily, I might have walked right into Darren's trap. The next morning, I woke up at Lily's house. Ethan climbed into bed with me and hugged me. His hug grounded me. I knew I had to be strong for him. Lily was in the kitchen making breakfast. She asked if I'd slept. I told her the truth. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Darren in my living room. Later that afternoon, the police called to say my house was secure. They suggested I wait before going back, but I wanted to face it. I needed to prove to myself that I wasn't going to be afraid forever. Lily drove me home. As we pulled up, my heart raced. The house looked the same on the outside, but I knew things were different inside. When I opened the door, the air felt cold, not physically but emotionally. I stepped into the living room and forced myself to look at the corner where Darren had been standing. It looked so ordinary now, but the memory made it feel like a different place. The officers had left the security footage for me to review. I watched as Darren entered the house with confidence, checking each room. He paused in front of Ethan's old playroom, and my throat tightened. I realized this was a well-planned attack. Over the next few days, I stayed with Lily while I had the locks changed, the alarm system upgraded, and the cameras improved. My grandmother, Rose, came to visit. She sat beside me and said, "Your instincts told you something was wrong, and you listened. That's what kept you safe." I contacted the manager of the gas station to find out about the stranger. He said the man was a regular but kept to himself. I left my number, not sure if he'd call. But a day later, he did. We met at the gas station. The man was standing by the air pump, looking calmer. When I thanked him, he said, "I'm not a hero. I just wish someone had done this for someone I loved." "You were lucky I recognized him." His words hit me hard. In the weeks that followed, life slowly returned to normal. My home no longer felt like a place of fear. I learned to trust my instincts and take warnings seriously. Safety is not something to be taken for granted, it's something to be fought for. And I'm grateful that a stranger's warning changed the course of that night.